Being kicked out of a live sporting event is something fans love to see because of the drama, but it happens in NASCAR also. Chase Briscoe was pushed off course by Denny Hamlin and AJ Allmendinger. When he returned on the track, he was behind Hamlin. He was then penalized for cutting the course. He decided to take his anger out on Hamlin, push him off the track, and spin him out. Briscoe was then disqualified from the race.
He leads him into 7. Briscoe right on his tail. We'll have to see how NASCAR.
Stop and go. 14 has a
Stop and go for the 14 car. He is not racing for the win. Oh, he's going to spin Denny. Denny is spun out. The 14 car spun Denny Hamlin out into turn 10.
Kenseth cleared by Logano. Maybe no. Kenseth takes him out. Logano into the wall. Caution comes out and the crowd roars. Helmets coming off. This is what just took place.
And clearly the 22 is lapping the 20, and 20 obviously intentionally wrecked him. And like what happened the week before was more than 2 weeks before was more than it should have been, and just flat wrecked him.
Matt Kenseth already not having the day that he wanted to have.
Matt Kenseth gave one of the best paybacks a driver has ever seen in NASCAR history. Kenseth full-throttle Joey Logano video game style moved in the wall at Martinsville, ending both of their races. Matt Kenseth was suspended for the next 2 races, but needless to say, everybody was happy Matt Kenseth gave Joey Logano a piece of his own medicine. Austin Hill gets wrecked by Johnny Sauter under caution in the NASCAR Truck Series race, and Johnny Sauter is then suspended for 1 race after this horrific crash.
Sauter for that. Yes, indeed. So here is Sauter coming back to get Hill after Hill had moved Johnny and put Johnny into the wall.
I think
Johnny Sauter's day is done.
Carl Edwards intentionally crashes Brad Keselowski. In doing so, he turns Brad Keselowski down the front stretch, makes him fly into the air and almost into the catch fence, which is close to the grandstands. Edwards was immediately parked and kicked out of the race that day.
And half a second. And the 99 has turned over Brad Keselowski.
And we have a caution.
My goodness. I don't know if I'm okay.
Keselowski was on track for a 6th place finish.
Clean here, clean here. Just slight contact. Oh, look at that thing go.
That looks so much like Edwards' turnover at Talladega off the bumper of Keselowski.
It really did, and I'm so wondering and hoping that when they put the spoiler back on these cars, they'll quit turning over like this.
Keselowski's put the window net down.
The roof flaps deployed, but it did not sit that car back down. I'm like you, Daryl. I'm going to be so glad to see that rear spoiler back on these cars.
Everybody loves the Robbie Gordon shenanigans of NASCAR. Robbie Gordon crashed Marcus Ambrose after being crashed under caution and losing positions. Robbie Gordon was told to go back to around 7th place in the lineup for the restart, and he did not. He ended up taking out race leader Marcus Ambrose in the next restart, went on to essentially win the race. NASCAR disqualified him and ultimately said, "You will not be racing."
Brad Coleman involved, Ron Hornaday involved, and up front, Robbie Gordon by Ambrose, who goes back on him. Caution flags waving. We're being told Robbie Gordon still in line in 2nd place on the racetrack. We're being told that he is going to be back around 12th place after they've reviewed the scoring and put him in and determined that that's where he should be. There it is. Couldn't see that coming, could you? All right, so the lead is changing hands here now. Kevin Harvick has just gone out in front. A confusing situation to this race. Robbie Gordon may now be first in line on the racetrack, but the lead belongs to Kevin Harvick.
Vince, I'm here with Robbie Gordon. Got out of his race car, hopped on the roof, saluted the fans. Very rough racing there at the end. Robbie, what happened?
Well, if you want to know my opinion, I won the race. So I completed all the laps. And if you've seen this happen before, guys get spun when they slow down. That's exactly what happened with Marcus. He spun me when I slowed down, and they tell me I'm going to go back to 17th. It's not the way it is. It's happened many times. They set precedents before, and we'll appeal it. We won this race.
This is also one of the most famous parked moments in NASCAR history, and it was in recent years also. Josh Williams had a piece of tape fall off his car after his car was repaired by his pit crew. In NASCAR, if you repair your car and anything falls off your car, you're immediately told to go to the garage and your day is done. Josh Williams had that exact moment happen to him, and what did he do? He did what he was told. He parked his car, got out of it, and left. But it was on the front stretch, in front of everybody. And Josh Williams was suspended the following week.
Robbie Gordon, we showed you the replays earlier for his involvement in this incident that got Jeremy Mayfield and Tony Stewart, two of the championship chasers, in trouble.
Well, this is just a payback. And we talked about, you know, we thought that was the situation last week at Richmond with Jimmy Spencer and Casey Mears. And they were going to park Spencer for a couple laps and then looked at the tapes and said no. But this is pretty obvious that this was a payback and this is what needs to be done, and I commend NASCAR for it.
This time they looked at the tapes and said, we're going to penalize Robbie Gordon 2 laps for rough driving.
During the 2021 Indianapolis road course race, Chase Briscoe was pushed off course, and he got black flagged. He was told to give up his position, and he did not. He intentionally then crashed Denny Hamlin, who was the race leader, costing Denny Hamlin a shot at the win. Chase Briscoe was then disqualified. During a Truck Series race at Martinsville, Kevin Harvick intentionally crashed one of his competitors and was black flagged and not able to continue during that race. After a brief discussion post-race, NASCAR came to the conclusion that Kevin Harvick will be suspended and not allowed to race in the NASCAR Cup Series race the following day, with Chase Elliott being suspended during the 2023 season after intentionally wrecking Denny Hamlin at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Front straightaway, hard in the wall goes Hamlin. Chase Elliott.
Hard impact for Denny Hamlin.
That was a savage crash right at the start-finish line.
The inside of Chase gets loose. You see him lift out of the gas. The flames crowded Chase, got into him. But they saw some retaliation there.
Or did Keselowski get into the left rear corner of Elliott there?
I got right rear hooked in the middle straight away.
Did you think there was any kind of retaliation there, or what was the deal? What led to that?
Yeah, it's a tantrum, and he shouldn't be racing next week. Right rear hooks are absolutely unacceptable. I don't care. It's the same thing Bubba Wallace did with Kyle Larson. The exact same. He shouldn't be racing. It's a tantrum.
After investigating the crash, which Denny Hamlin describes as an intentional crash in his interview, NASCAR dropped the hammer on the most popular driver, Chase Elliott, and suspended him for 1 race. With already missing 6 races previously in the year because of an injury, this hindered his chances at making the playoffs. Elliott ultimately did not make the playoffs, and this could all be led back to this moment on the racetrack. This is also one of the biggest suspensions in NASCAR history. Kyle Busch being suspended for crashing somebody intentionally in a truck race. It's pretty bad when you can get suspended for wrecking somebody, not even in the biggest series in NASCAR. Ron Hornaday was fighting for a championship, and Kyle Busch was just racing for fun. He let his emotions get the best of him, and it ended up horrible for Kyle Busch.
Then he shoots up the racetrack, almost gets into the 31, and here comes Hornaday for second, trying to take that spot away.
How about that young driver, Ron Hornaday, trying to get by Kyle Busch here? Ooh, close.
Wide into turn 4. That moves Kyle Busch all the way up the racetrack. He has to catch it before he gets to the wall, and Hornaday catches the wall.
Well, it's certainly been big here this morning. Standing right in front of the NASCAR hauler just moments ago, probably 100 members of the NASCAR media around here. And what they saw was Joe Gibbs Racing, the owner, Joe Gibbs himself, up inside the NASCAR hauler. He was followed by J.D. Gibbs. J.D. up in the NASCAR hauler for a meeting about what happened last night. He was followed by Kyle Busch, also up in the hauler. The bottom line, what will come out of this? NASCAR has come out and said that they will have a press conference at 8:45 concerning the incident last night and possible penalties being weighed against Kyle Busch.
And following the event and after a good deal of conversation and discussion, NASCAR has decided to maintain that parked position on the driver of the 18 truck for the balance of the weekend. So basically what that means is Kyle Busch will not be participating today or tomorrow in the NASCAR event here in Texas.
In the inaugural NASCAR Next Gen race car season, Bubba Wallace intentionally crashed Kyle Larson and was immediately suspended the following week. Bubba Wallace wrecked Kyle Larson coming off of turn 4 after Larson put him in the wall, and Bubba Wallace retaliated, full throttling Larson, hooking him hard head-on into the wall. Bubba Wallace also got out of his car and walked over to Kyle Larson, and they had a shoving match. Needless to say, Bubba Wallace was suspended and was able to return 2 weeks later.
Big battle off of turn 4 here.
And into the wall goes Bubba Wallace. And he comes back across the track, tags the 5. They're both in the wall. The caution comes out.
Tips the 20 car of Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell hard into the outside wall. Bubba just feels like that the 5 didn't give him much room as he would have liked.
Then they go down the front straightaway, and it just looks like to me Bubba hangs a left to retaliate. And I got a problem with that. You're going as fast as they're going, and you hang a guy on the right rear quarter pound. That is exceptionally dangerous. That's racing right there. Larson's fault for sure, but that right there is not acceptable.
In the opening race in the round of 8, Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson were racing fairly hard coming off turn number 4. When Larson pushed up the track and pushed Bubba Wallace's car into the wall, Bubba Wallace instantly retaliated, crashing Larson hard into the wall, also collecting Christopher Bell. Afterwards, Bubba approached Kyle Larson, instantly started shoving and yelling at him before NASCAR officials stepped in. NASCAR ultimately suspended Wallace for 1 race for his actions on the racetrack.